Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We will be pulling for each side of this connection, so we've got your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section will be looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection, the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate for everyone, and they won't resonate for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and resonates with you and leave what does not. Last thing, any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Sagittarius, let's jump on in. Let's see what we're dealing with here. This is for Sagittarius's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with, needing to learn the most from right now. This is for Sagittarius' side of the connection. Grief and sadness with boundaries, and then you have confusion. You're definitely in a tough place right now, Sagittarius, when it comes to this connection. I feel like there have been some things that have happened that have obviously been confusing, because I feel like this person probably did something to lead to this grief and sadness, and there's probably the synergy of like, why would they do that? Like, I don't understand. How could someone treat me this way? Like, I would never do that. And that can start to feel really hard to handle, especially when you have a hard time like trying to understand why someone did something. Now, this boundaries card, I feel like, is both this need to protect yourself, and I feel like you also are in a position of kind of maybe putting up boundaries, protecting yourself in some way. Now, I feel like there might be someone who needs to hear this. Sometimes when people hurt us, it can cause us to really throw our guard up and to put a wall up to not allow anybody else to come in. One of my favorite, like all-time favorite songs is I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs, and I can't even remember the artist's name. And there's a line in it where she says, "Don't let some hellbent heart leave you bitter." And I like that because I think that sometimes when we get really hurt by people, we kind of have a tendency to believe that is either going to happen again, or we go into like trying to protect ourselves from that never happening again, which might cause us to miss out on the love that we ultimately do deserve and is possible for us. So that might not be a message for everyone, but definitely for somebody out there. Let's take a look into this person's energy. I can already tell, I feel like it's going to be rough just based on how you're feeling right now. Person's energy towards Sagittarius. Wild card, optimism, codependency, ego. Woof. Okay. I feel like this person, that kind of ignorance is bliss kind of energy. I feel like that's kind of where this person is coming from. Now, this wild card energy, I feel like, is an indication that this person is pretty unpredictable. I feel like you never really know what they're going to do, how they're going to show up. And I also feel like the way that they have acted in this connection has been pretty, just in general, like wild card energy. Like, didn't see that coming, blindsided kind of energy. Now, this ego with codependency card is interesting too, because I feel like this person probably struggles with allowing their ego to control their decisions. especially in relationships. And when we deal with people who struggle with their ego making decisions for them, it can be really confusing because who they present themselves to be is different from who they really are, and their actions don't really align with their intentions. You kind of start dipping into manipulative territory, things of that nature. Now, this codependency card is kind of this indication that I feel like this person is pretty used to unhealthy relationships. I feel like that's kind of what their expectation is, and maybe even because they've only really ever experienced unhealthy relationships, maybe they even create unhealthy relationships, because a lot of times we repeat familiar dynamics in our relationships because our ego knows how to survive those. So even if everything is like going great, somebody who struggles with unhealthy dynamics will maybe do things to mess it up because they literally don't know how to handle or be in a healthy dynamic. So, for lack of a better word, I feel like this person kind of has some issues, and I feel like you unfortunately got in, became a casualty in kind of like their stuff, like getting caught up kind of in their stuff. Now, I don't think that that's something you did intentionally, nor do I think that's something you need to blame yourself for, but I do definitely feel like who this person presented themselves as was different than who they ended up being, and I feel like that's where a lot of the confusion is coming from. Because again, I feel like there's kind of this like, why would somebody do this kind of energy. Let's just keep going. Truth of the connection here between Sagittarius and the person they are dealing with. Boundaries and detachment. Interesting. Boundaries and detachment. Okay. So I feel like, as you're moving forward, just know, I saw the healing card popping out, and I feel like this isn't the main message in between here, but I feel like you do need to know, I was wondering if I was going to find it, that you will heal from this. I think that sometimes when, and I think that that's kind of what this detachment card is talking about too, like, there is a day that you will get to where you're able to get to a place of indifference, and this doesn't affect your life so much. That might seem really, really difficult to believe right now because of how hard it is impacting you now. Now, I feel like depending on where you're at, there could be some of you in the Sagittarius collective that is on the other side of this. And if that is you, maybe drop a comment for some people below, just letting them know it does get better, you can heal. The love that you deserve does exist. And I feel like right now, I don't want to say this is a lesson in boundaries, because I think that is too simple. It's not, that doesn't paint the full picture, because sometimes it's hard to protect ourselves from people who are inauthentic and who do come off as somebody else. So it's like, yeah, I do think that, boundaries are always important in our relationships, but I feel like there's more to it than just that. I feel like it's not just like, oh, this is teaching you to set boundaries, because I think that would be oversimplifying what went down here, way too much. So let's see. Let's just get more here. This is for Sagittarius's energy toward the person they are dealing with. Sagittarius's side of the connection, clarifying grief and sadness. One more. Whoa, that's way too many cards. That's look at that. That's way too many cards. I'm gonna keep going. Clear, concise messages for Sagittarius' side of this connection. The Ten of Cups. And then the Six of Swords. Okay. And then there's those boundaries card. That boundaries card again. Seven of Wands. So, okay. This makes sense. I feel like that when this person showed up in your life, I feel like you saw them as this Ten of Cups. It was like, oh my gosh, this is my person. The person they were presenting themselves to be was like almost like dream come true kind of energy. And I feel like why this has been so difficult for you to heal from is because it's almost as if you're grieving somebody who didn't really exist, because who they ended up being is so different from who you thought that they were. And that can make things like so like difficult, because you start to try to understand what was real and what wasn't. Were they just using me? Things of that nature. And I think that that can get you really caught up in this loop of making it really hard for you to trust yourself or to trust other people, which makes complete sense. But I feel like there is, I don't know, I feel like there is a bright side to this. I do. I really do. You might not believe me. You don't have to believe me. But I feel like we're going to get to a place where, in this reading, where we kind of see that. Because I feel like, I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I have certainly learned that the connections that don't work out are teaching us what we need to know so that we can attract the connections that we do deserve. Now, the problem is that sometimes we tend to make it about like the other person and why did the other person do this, or, what did you do wrong in this situation to like make the other person do the things that they did. And I think that it's really important to always detach what happened or how someone treats you from you or your value or what's possible for you at all. Because I feel like, as we kind of already saw, it's obvious that this person kind of has some issues. And I think that those issues probably, it's like there was nothing you could have done to make this person change or treat you better, because how they were treating you is a reflection of ultimately how they treat themselves, but like more of a reflection of them than anything. Okay, but this person's energy towards Sagittarius, clear, concise messages. That's so interesting. I knew we were going to see that too. Because and there's the devil. Yep. Lovers and the devil with the 9 of Wands. See, I feel like why it's confusing is because you really thought that this person, oh my gosh, okay, yeah. You really thought that this person loved and cared about you, and then obviously the way that they acted completely went against that. I do actually feel like this person loved and cared about you, though. I do. I don't think their actions reflected that because of where they're at in their own journey. What I mean by that is we on some level, every single human being desires to be loved unconditionally for who we are. We desire human connection on a fundamental level. However, based on what we've been through in our life, starting in childhood up through our adulthood, we have learned, if our relationships have been painful or we've always lacked the love that we deserve and desire, we've learned that love equals heartbreak, pain. It's always something that's in lack or that causes like negative outcomes. And I feel like that's what this person really struggles with. I feel like they have a history, a past. We all do. We're all adults here. They have a history, a past that causes them to act in a way that doesn't align with how they really feel. And I think that that's where you're needing to understand that I actually think this person valued you more than you think that they did. I think they undervalued themselves enough to believe they were deserving of the value that they saw in you, which was a result in their behavior. So I think that what's really hard is sometimes we tend to see other people, we see ourselves in other people. It's like if we believe that we're broken or that we're wounded or that we are, there's something wrong with us, if you will, in some way. Sometimes we'll attract people that remind us of those parts of ourselves, the parts of us that struggle to believe that we're loving and to believe that we're deserving. And we bring those people into our life and into our energy field because we see them and we empathize with them and we love them anyway, because we, essentially see ourselves in them. And I think that what we have to learn to do, just kind of like as a collective, is to learn that despite the things that you believe are wrong with you, the flaws, the parts of you that you believe are unlovable, none of that makes you unlovable. None of the things that you think are wrong with you makes you undeserving of being loved well. So instead of looking for the people that mirror back those shadow aspects, it's about looking for the people that mirror back the light aspects in you, because you are so much more worthy and deserving than how people who don't value themselves treat you. And sometimes it can be hard to remember that when we are kind of caught up in the heartbreak of somebody else. Essentially, when we're caught up in the decisions of somebody else's ego. Truth of the connection between, oh my goodness, what is up with these cards? Between Sagittarius and this person. So I feel like, with this devil energy, I feel like this person probably struggles to make good, healthy decisions for themselves in their own life. And therefore, they're not going to make healthy decisions for you. And I think that that's where the grief and the sadness and the confusion all comes in. The Six of Wands. I think the hardest part about loving somebody that we see potential in is learning that that potential is actually somebody that doesn't exist. I feel like when this person came into your life, you saw so much potential in them and in this connection. I feel like the way that they acted from the beginning, however, was always lacking authenticity, but I feel like you were always waiting for more. And so I think that this is about making sure that you protect yourself from people who don't, because, and I talked about this in a few readings this week, and I will talk about this consistently on my channel, but somebody loving you and wanting you and desiring you is absolute bare minimum. Like, that is not even what you are looking for, what you deserve. You don't just deserve someone who loves you or desires you or sees your value. You deserve somebody who shows up for the connection loving you well. You don't just deserve someone who loves you, you deserve someone who loves you well. You don't just deserve someone who's there, you deserve someone who's consistently showing up for the connection. And I think that this person lacked a lot from the beginning, but I do, and I'm going to say it, Sagittarius, I do feel going into this connection, there was this aspect of, but I think I can change them. And I think that that came from this place of you seeing that potential in them. And then their behavior was more of a reflection of where they're at, right? Now, here's the thing. I think that the person that they showed up in the beginning, was actually the person they want to be. But somebody can only pretend to be somebody else for so long until where they're actually at shines through. So if there's no healing or no self-awareness or no growth, then where they're really at is going to come through. And I feel like as that started to happen, you really held on to that idea of who they showed up as, which is natural and normal, and I'm not blaming you for that. But I feel like the lesson moving forward is just to understand that, because this is the second time we've seen the devil, someone better, I like this, with closure, that this person, and the way that they treated you, the way that they did has nothing to do with you, okay? Nothing at all. It's 100% where they're at. They would have done it to anybody. And I feel like this someone better card is you knowing that there is somebody out there who can love you well. And I almost feel like this is this need to, and I'm not saying you have low standards, okay? So please don't take it this way. But this need to raise your standards and your relationships and to become unapologetic about what it is that you deserve, like from the beginning, because you deserve somebody who makes it known that you are lovable and that they are there and their intentions are there. Your intentions align with theirs, and that you know how they feel about you, and you know that they care about you. And I feel like this person with that wild card energy, it's like you were always second guessing how they felt, where they stood, how things were. And I feel like that left you always feeling a little bit unsafe in this connection. And any connection without emotional safety is not a relationship, it is an attachment. And when we are focusing more on the stuff that doesn't really matter, like the romantic feelings and the pull and the draw towards another person, but we're not focusing on the fact that, like, I don't feel emotionally safe. Like, I don't feel valued or protected or seen or heard. That's where we start to kind of essentially make decisions that maybe don't really align with us, but align more with the connection itself. And I'm not blaming you for getting into a position, like, I'm not saying it is your fault, okay, that this happened by any means. But if there's anything that I've learned, it's that the only thing that we have control over is how we show up for ourselves, because we don't have control over other people. And to be honest, like, just kind of based on this person's energy, I feel like they're kind of this like walking red flag kind of energy. But I feel like you looked past a lot of that because you did see that potential, which again, it happens. Okay. But what I'm getting at is this doesn't mean that you need to throw your guard up and never trust anybody ever again. What this means is that you need to make sure that you're being careful with who you pour your mind, body, and soul into, and make sure that they are people who are both capable of receiving that, but also capable of giving it back. Sagittarius' side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. Yeah, there's that passion. And I feel like that's the hard thing. Like, there is this really intense draw to this person. Maybe the physical attraction was really good. Maybe, you had a lot of fun together. That's one that I hear, like, we had so much fun together and things were always exciting, and that those dopamine hits and the relationship were great. But then when you think about like this person's behavior, could you trust them? Could you trust from the beginning that they were going to respond when they said that they would, or do the things that they said that they would, or show you, how they cared about you outside of just the fun, exciting stuff? Because here's what happened. I feel like, you got this rug ripped out from underneath you in this connection. I feel like you were totally blindsided. Here's the Ten of Swords. This is betrayal. This is abandonment. This came out of nowhere. And I feel like it makes it really hard for you to believe that you're ever going to be able to find love again, because a part of you thought that you found it in this person. And now you're like, well, I don't know what to trust, because I don't want to feel this way again. So I don't really want to open myself up to love again, because I don't want to go back to this place. But it's not about not experiencing the love that you deserve and desire. It's about not repeating this dynamic. It's about making sure that you are being really protective with your energy, and that you are only allowing yourself to pour into people who are authentic and real and genuine. And a lot of times what that looks like is allowing yourself to be 100% who you are from the beginning, just unapologetically yourself, and allowing somebody to either accept or reject that. And if you are rejected for who you really are, like for being honest about your needs, about your desires, about showing the parts of yourself that maybe you hold a little bit of shame of, like if you show that to somebody and they reject it, that means that that's not the right person for you. But if you show that to somebody from the beginning and they accept it, you create this mutual sense of trust where you're able to say, okay, this person is here to to love me for who I am, not for, whoever I think I need to be to make them happy, or whatever the case is. So I don't know. I feel like this is more of a reading for a collective that needs to not give up on love. I feel like it would make plenty of sense why you would want to, but I feel like on the other side of this is so much more than you deserve, or so much more than you think is possible. And is exactly what it is that you do deserve. So I think that I don't know. I think that this connection, I feel like was meant to kind of like break you open in a way, to get you to love the parts of yourself that this connection has made feel unlovable. Because I do feel like this person has done a number on you. But I feel like the way that you're going to rebuild yourself from this and the way that you're going to recover from this, like literally, it's almost as if this connection is preparing you for the right person for you, because it's almost like it's teaching you to love yourself in a way that maybe you never really have before. So there is a purpose to this. And I think that on the other side of this, you're going to see that. But we want to make sure we stay away from people like this, right? The charmers, the people who look really good from the surface, who make everything seem exciting, but there's not really any depth. I think that sometimes I think about those people that I've dated in the past that kind of are a little bit more ego driven in relationships. And I remember, it's like there was always something off from the beginning, but the exciting chemicals in my brain made me always just dive in head first. And then I'd always end up just like devastated. And learning to, not pour into people that you aren't 100% sure are capable of pouring into you, I think is where we start to attract the right kind of connections into our life. I hope this is making sense. Okay, this person's energy towards Sagittarius. The devil with ego. Yeah, I just feel like this person has some issues. And I feel like you saw that and you knew that. And I feel like you empathized with that. And I feel like you were like, oh, I got issues too. That's fine. We can fix each other. We can heal each other. That's typically, kind of the trap that we tend to fall into with these types of connections is, we see people who reflect back similar issues that we have, and we think that means, oh goodness, we think that means that we're like meant for each other because they reflect back our shadow and we can love them despite the things that are wrong with them, but then they never end up loving us the way that we deserve to be loved. Okay, yeah. What in the world, Sagittarius? Okay. Here's where I feel, because you have a right to be confused. Because I feel like this person, it's like they looked at this connection as wish fulfillment with this 9 of Pentacles here. It's like I feel like they were like, yes, this is it. This is this person that I want to be with. But it's almost like there's this energy of valuing you for the wrong things. And it's not that they didn't value you at all. It's almost like they valued you maybe for things that were a little bit more on the surface. Now, understand that people can only meet us where they've met themselves. So if they only value themselves for things on the surface, they're only going to value us for things on the surface. And I feel like whether or not you believe it, this person is pretty heartbroken over how things went down in this connection. I don't feel like they necessarily meant to do the things that they did. That does not justify it. That doesn't make it okay. Nor does that mean that I say you just need to forgive them. And, that's not at all what I'm saying. Hurt people, right? We hear it all the time, but it's absolutely true. But the problem is that when we ourselves believe that we are broken, when we believe that there is something about us that needs to be fixed in order to be loved, we will attract people that need fixing. We will attract people that need changing. We will attract people that we believe our value is going to depend on our ability to change them or fix them. And I feel like that is what happened in this connection. I feel like, whoever they, like I said, they presented themselves as, it's like, I think that they really truly wanted to be that person for you. I don't feel like this does not feel like this is somebody who is just completely sinister, out to get you, kind of behavior. Maybe it is, maybe this isn't the collective that maybe I'm not speaking to your collective. Because the collective that I'm speaking to is I'm speaking to somebody who is dealing with somebody who is deeply lost. And because of that, they are not in a position to be able to give and receive love healthfully. Because this King of Cups in reverse is kind of this energy of maybe even emotional manipulation or, kind of just not being honest about who they are, what they want, where they're at. And I feel like this is somebody who's in hiding. They're hiding from themselves. They're hiding from who they really are. There's probably a lot of shame there that they don't want to have to face. And healthy connections bring that stuff to the surface. Love, connections with other people, bring that stuff to the surface. And if we don't want to face those things about ourselves, we will ruin and sabotage the connection. And I feel like what you're dealing with is somebody who has not met themselves to the depth in which this connection tried to take you both. And I think that that's why things kind of blew up the way that it did. What you need to know, Sagittarius, is that you are not in the business of fixing other people. You are not in the business of attracting broken people. You are in the business of loving yourself well enough to know that you are deserving of love exactly as you are. Because whatever shame that you hold for your past, or whatever ways that you feel you're broken, or whatever ways that you feel you're not good enough, I feel like this person mirrored that. And it's almost like, oh, if you had these things wrong with you too, then, I can love you and you can love me because both of us are lovable despite our flaws. That's not what love, I don't want to say that's not what love is, but that's not what healthy love is about. Love is about loving yourself enough to know that despite the things that you feel are wrong with you, you are deserving of a healthy individual. Somebody who is doing the work, who can communicate, who can be vulnerable, who doesn't self-sabotage. That is what you are deserving of in your relationships. And I feel like there's this need to raise your standards about what it is that you will and will not accept, so that you are able to say, I know what I'm deserving of and I'm not accepting anything less. Because then that's going to keep away the wrong people and attract the right kind of people into your life. But it's not always easy. I know that for sure. But I also think that this connection is it's like I said, it's like preparing you in a way, because here's the thing, if you don't love yourself fully and you attract somebody into your life who is like the person that is meant for you, the person that, is doing the work, is working on themselves, you're not going to feel deserving of it and you're going to push it away. You're going to sabotage it. Okay. That's just the way that it goes. If we don't feel deserving of love, we're going to push away love in the right people and we're going to chase it in the wrong people. So the universe is not going to bring you who is meant for you, the right people who are meant for you into your life until you believe you are deserving of them. And you will only believe you are deserving of them when you stop looking for love in people who don't know how to love you well. And those are the hard truths about relationships, because the reason this person is a mirror towards you, this person is a mirror of you, is both of you hold these feelings of not being good enough for love, not being, lovable, whatever the case is. They've just been handled. Those feelings and those beliefs have been handled in different ways. This person is pushing it away from somebody who shows up with love, and you're chasing it and somebody who is not capable of providing it for you. And that is natural, and it happens. And these two types of people tend to find each other, which is why a lot of my readings kind of talk about that kind of dynamic. But that does not mean that there is, that things are hopeless for you and that you cannot have the love that you deserve and desire. What it means is that there's a need to address what happened here in terms of what you can control, so that when the right person comes along, you can recognize them for what it is. And that is someone who is capable of loving you well, instead of pushing it away because you don't think you're deserving of it. In between this connection, you have boundaries with the Six of Wands. We're going to hop on over to the extended. I'm going to pull messages looking at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Thank you so much, Sagittarius, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Sagittarius.